Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our YouTube channel, and today we are presenting a small presentation on COBOL. COBOL is one of the oldest programming language that is still in use. You will be surprised to know that 70% of the people while traveling or withdrawing money from ATM interact with COBOL application. So today's presentation is divided into three different sections. First one is introduction, second one is current status of COBOL, and third one is future of COBOL. Okay, so let's begin our presentation with the definition of COBOL. The term COBOL stands for Common Business Oriented Language. It is a high-level programming language and it is used to develop business-oriented application. For example, core banking. COBOL is one of the oldest and extensively used programming language. Surprisingly, COBOL has always maintained a low profile, but it dominates the enterprise computing for the last 60 years. Now let's focus on the features of COBOL. COBOL is a powerful programming language. It is easy to learn and simple to design complex enterprise applications. COBOL is a standard, robust and English-like programming language. It has both object-oriented programming and structured programming capabilities. And the best part is it is scalable, reliable, and platform independent. Last but not the least, COBOL has an excellent file and database handling capabilities. You will be surprised to know that around the globe there are thousands and thousands of COBOL applications which are handling millions of monetary transactions every day. Now let's move on to the next section, which is current status of COBOL. COBOL is everywhere. COBOL has a proven track record of 60 years in application production, maintenance and enhancement. Approximately 200 billion lines of COBOL code are in use as of today. And you will be surprised to know that almost 70% of people use COBOL application while traveling, withdrawing money from ATM, or booking their doctor appointment, or probably ordering pizzas or burgers. Now let's move on to the next section, which is COBOL dominance in enterprise area and a brief history of COBOL. COBOL is a hidden asset. In reality, COBOL is the major programming language for business applications. Today, IT space is flooded with new programming language with tons of new features, but still they can't beat COBOL. In reality, 9 out of 10 critical business applications are using COBOL. Now, let me give you certain examples from different sectors which are heavily relying on COBOL applications. So we'll start off with banking, followed by airline, healthcare industry, and government agencies. Banking and financial service sector. Mainframe as a platform are the product of 50 years of innovation. The banking and financial service sector rely on mainframe, and COBOL is a traditional programming language on the mainframe. Interestingly, 92 of the world's top 100 banks rely on mainframe to host their core banking systems. And almost 15% of new enterprise application functionality is written in COBOL. Now, let me read out a few more facts so that you can understand the importance of COBOL application in banking and financial service sector. So the first one is 7.7 trillion in annual credit card payments, 29 billion annual ATM transactions, 12.6 billion transactions per day, all handled by COBOL applications seamlessly. Now, let's talk about airline industry. If you're booking a plane ticket or checking into a flight, there's a good chance that your data and transaction is handled by a mainframe software somewhere. However, you are accessing these websites by a PC or a mobile phone. But ultimately, the infrastructure that make airline reservation works is still powered by a COBOL application which is hosted on mainframe. Now let's talk about a healthcare industry. When you go to see a doctor, the health record that he or she access about you may be stored on a mainframe, but it would be accessed by a COBOL application. Your health insurance company probably rely on mainframe to help process claims and payments too. COBOL remains an important part of the infrastructure that powers the healthcare industry, all around. Now let's talk about the next sector, that is the government agencies which heavily rely on COBOL applications. Majority of enterprise applications are designed in COBOL. These legacy systems include mainframe-based application, database, and transaction-based system. For example, tax return, claim processing, scientific exploration systems, etc. Certainly, COBOL is the predominant programming language within these complex applications. In fact, it is a lifeline for many different companies. Now, ladies and gentlemen, a quick question for you. Do you still think COBOL is dead? Well, my answer is no, it is not. And it's becoming stronger day by day. So leave your comment in the comment section. Now, let's focus on the history of COBOL. In the 1950s, there was a movement to create a programming language that can specifically solve business problems. A prominent example of a successful programming language for business was Flowmatic. It was adopted by many large corporations and the United States Air Force. In May 1959, meeting held in the Pentagon, the group members tentatively decided to call their project as Common Business Language. In fact, in December 1959, the final draft of first COBOL specification was completed. Now, I have divided the entire history into two sections. First one is during the 1960s, when the actual COBOL is released for the public, and after 1960s. So now let's focus on to the history during the 1960s. Finally, the conference led to the formation of a team called CODASL, that is Conference on Data Systems Language. This team has representatives from civil and government agencies, academics, computer manufacturers, and other software enthusiasts to work towards the goal, that is to develop a language that can address business problems. The new language called COBOL was developed in September 1959. And finally, this was released with some minor modification in April 1960. COBOL as a major programming language in the United States with a software portfolio of 12 million applications and 605 million function points. Now let's move on to the next section of COBOL history, that is between 1961 to 2018. During this time frame, the major focus was to introduce new features and functionality in COBOL. On May 5th, 1961, COBOL 61 was published with some minor revision. It is the version which provides the foundation for later versions. In 1968, COBOL was approved by ANSI as a standard language for commercial use. The new version of COBOL that was released in 1985 supports object-oriented programming, and the latest version, which was released in 2018, supports XML, JSON, and web applications. Now let's move on to the next section, that is future of COBOL. Now let's focus on the future of COBOL and how COBOL is growing day by day at a constant rate despite of negative criticism. COBOL is growing at a constant pace. In fact, around 15 years back, many computer experts thought that COBOL is on the verge of becoming extinct. Even today, some people believe the same. And in my opinion, so will some people in the future. In fact, COBOL is becoming stronger day by day, and it will not going to die soon. People are still predicting that it will going to die in next 15 or 20 odd years, but honestly speaking, it will not die. It is practically impossible to replace all the COBOL application which is running as of today since last 40 or 50 odd years. Now let's move on to the next section, which is basically a COBOL popularity index. The popularity index of programming language is created by analyzing how often a language tutorial are searched on Google. The number one position is occupied by Python, which is again a powerful programming language. However, COBOL has occupied 22nd position. COBOL clearly dominates the enterprise computing space. It almost powers most of the world financial transactions, and despite being over 60 years. Now this marks an end to our presentation. I would request you all to share your feedback in the comment section. Also, please hit like button and share it with your friends who are actually writing COBOL program since last couple of years. Once again guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you.